Welcome back to the final edition of Season 2 of the Gentleman of Style Show. I'm Baldwin.
And I'm Creech. And man, I am so energized. First of all, we done made it through 2 seasons.
2 seasons, X amount of episodes.
Yeah. And then we got a lot of other stuff out there.
Exactly.
But the fact is, this is the final episode of Season 2. And then we get to bring on one of our brothers,
One of our brothers.
Yeah.
We thought it would be very appropriate to bring someone that's close and dear to our heart to give you some expressions of his life and share some of his experiences from his point of view and just bring it all together to end this season up like, nothing else that you've seen before.
Yeah, because we've given you a lot of different things over the season, some different people, some different things to think about, just, some different philosophies, all that good stuff, you know what I mean?
Exactly,
And we're going to end this thing, we're going to give you something hardcore a little bit, then we're going to give you something to give you some mentoring, then we're going to give you a little bit of that touch of, this is where I've been, but this is where I am now. So we give you a whole lot on this one.
Exactly.
A whole lot.
Exactly.
So without further ado, we ain't going to hold this thing up any further. You know what I mean?
So, we would like to introduce our esteemed guest, Mr. Jovan Roseboro. Come on in.
Come on in.
Yeah, how you doing?
And we're going to take a seat on this one. We don't normally do this, but we're going to take a seat on this one.
Take a seat. We're going to sit down on this.
You're going to do your seat. There you go.
Sit down.
Gentlemen. Yeah.
All right.
This is what I'm talking about.
Okay.
Good conversation.
Chopping it up. Now, I've been knowing Jovan for a long time. Long time.
Yeah.
Maybe longer than some of you been alive. Who knows? I don't know what's going on out there. We got a varied audience.
Oh, yeah. Most definitely.
So, Jovan,
yes,
let's start off like this. We from the same area. Tell them where you from.
Little place called Mount Olive, North Carolina. The biggest city around is Whiteville, Columbia County, rural southeastern North Carolina, about 30 minutes from Wilmington, 30 minutes from North Myrtle Beach.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah. I know all those areas. Good areas.
Absolutely.
Good people down there in them areas.
Oh, yeah.
So a lot of them people down there.
Yeah, and in that area, down there, we're familiar with tobacco and blueberries and things of that nature. It's a humble upbringing, coming from that area down there. But, besides that, besides the farming aspect and tobacco and things like that, there's other things surrounding that area as well. I wasn't privy to some of you guys, y'all can get up there and y'all can work in the stores and all this and that. We had to find other things to do. Is that not right, Jovan?
Crop tobacco, 5 o'clock in the morning, truck pulling up.
Mm-hmm.
You're getting out there, putting in a buck morning about 2, 3 o'clock in the evening.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's parallel. I'm from Clayton, North Carolina, so that's parallel.
Man.
We did that.
Y'all have buck mornings?
Yes, sir, bro. Look, come on, man. Look, man, the first job that I ever had, the first job I ever had technically was a paper boy, but the real first job I ever had was priming tobacco. Ooh. That was the very first real job I ever had.
I hadn't heard that in a long time.
Long time.
Yeah, man. So that's that real stuff. That's the real country. That ain't no fake stuff to that. It's real.
Right.
But so Jovan, let's talk about some of your younger years. Moving into from a young guy, moving into that early adulthood. What was that like for you?
That was it was crazy, to say the least. Single parent household. My mom raised me and my sister on a very, very low budget. That's the best way to put it. We live nice community.
Right.
Church every Sundays, church every Wednesdays, this, that, and the third. I was a straight A student. Things were great growing up. No father around. That's a whole different story. But around the age of 14, I started going left. Money was an issue, of course. That's an issue for a lot of people in rural America.
Most definitely.
So, of course, somehow I began to sell drugs. That's where it started. Marijuana, little marijuana here, little marijuana there. Of course, that grew. That transitioned into cocaine. From cocaine, everything else, guns, you name it. Hustling was hustling. And, things changed up for me roughly about the age of 18. And that's when I joined the military.
Right.
What branch were you in?
I was in the Army. I was 13 Charlie, Automated Fire Support System Specialist, and ended up jumping out of planes and actually getting stationed close to back home, Fort Bragg.
Fort Bragg.
So that was pretty cool. You know, the military was great. It helped me, you know, learn a little more discipline. You know, I didn't have any. I needed somebody to tell me when to wake up, when to go to sleep. You know, basically how to be a man, to say the least. I don't feel any type of way about saying that the military actually really helped me develop into a man. Roughly about three years, you know, I hurt my back in a parachuting accident and got out and began selling cars. So, you know, early years, that was very, very exciting, a lot of changes, a lot of development, you know, and, you know, that was pretty much that.
Let me ask you this.
Yeah.
You know, as a man, you know, we all sit up here with really similar stories in some aspects.
Right.
You know, I didn't have a father in my household either,
Right.
you know, so it was a single mother type thing with a grandmother piggybacking and trying to, you know, make sure that you got what you needed and so forth.
Right.
As not having a man in the household, how do you think that really affected you? You know, just being honest, like, do you think having a man to show you
Right.
things that you really didn't know, how do you think that would have impacted you?
I would have never sold drugs, and that's just being honest. A authoritative figure being in the household. My mom, you know, she whooped the hell out of me.
Right.
But, you know, just having a man there, I think a lot of things would have been different. But I think growing up in a household, you know, of women, it made me a more empathetic spirit.
Right.
You know, so that goes a long way. And it sticks with you throughout life, being a more empathetic person and really understanding hard work. Women work hard as I don't know
Yeah.
what.
Right.
Especially, you know, to feed their children. And it's crazy. My two heroes are my sister and my mother. Yeah.
Man, that's
Yeah.
great. I mean, that says a lot. People don't get that. You know, I think that's why I say we parallel a lot. I know Ron pretty much grew up with his mother and aunts and grandmother. Same for me. And you know, one of the biggest things that I always say, you say that too. I used to give my mother a Father's Day card because she was everything for me. You know, she still is. Don't get me wrong. My mother's still here, and I'm so thankful for that. But she was the end and all for me. And you know, my grandmother was that for me as well until she passed on. And it's one of those things where sometimes we don't give that prop to our mothers as much as we really should. We love them. Everybody know we love our mother, but
Absolutely.
we don't salute them enough sometimes, you know. And when you get a chance to do that, I really appreciate you saying that because, you know, women are definitely heroes and they play a big part in these young men's lives sometimes when fathers are nowhere to be found. So I just want to say that. Go ahead, Ron.
Jovan, you're a published author.
Right.
Tell me, what got you into writing? Well, tell us your books that you've written first, and then tell us, you know, what got you into writing? What pushed you into that mode to start, put the pen to paper and put your thoughts?
My first title, The Only One That Can Stop Me Is Me, that happened roughly around 2007. The second edition, of course, 2008, somewhere in that time frame. Very, very, very impactful self-help book. I wrote another book that was unpublished, of course, Making It to the Next Level, Thinking Above Your Means, and that message sticks
I love that
sticks
title.
with me hard.
Love that title.
Yes, and somewhere between here and heaven, my latest work.
Right.
And I've helped other authors develop titles and guide them through the process, and you know, kind of been a bridge between them and their audiences, tell their story. But what got me into writing it was by chance. When I got out of the military, like I said, I started selling cars. I got hooked on self-help. The Joe Verdes, the Jim Rohns,
Zig Ziglar.
Zig Ziglar, of course. You know, Deepak Chopra. You know, it was real heavy. I was hooked audio books, and it just kind of kept me going. You know, in sales, you got to have something to keep you going every day. That's just one of the things. So what happened was I was working at a car dealership in Lumberton, North Carolina. Big shout out to Peterson Toyota. And I had a coworker of mine who was dealing with a divorce, dealing with some family issues, and you know, like myself, you know, we were real cool. He used to hustle, and you know, at the time, you know, he had a cocaine addiction. It was what it was.
While he was selling cars?
While he was selling cars and going through what it was going through. So I took him to the mall one evening after work because I had to give him a ride home. And I went to the bookstore to help him find a self-help book just to kind of, you know, guide him through. And I couldn't find anything that really spoke to him specifically.
In his situation.
In his particular situation, somebody he could really connect with. I mean, you know, you got the Tony Robbins, you got the Les Browns, and, you know, that's impactful stuff. And, you know, of course, they speak to a lot of young people. But at that particular time, he needed something a little deeper.
A little more direct, like.
A little more direct, like straight to the point.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
We couldn't find it. I couldn't really find anything that there was one title that I actually found an audiobook. And you know, we were listening to it in the car while I was taking them home. It really ain't, you know, it was one of them. Right. So that night, then 2 nights later, I guess, I said, you know what? There needs to be a piece of material that speaks to people like me, people who look like me, live where I live, do what I do. And I began writing, and it's crazy. It took me about 4 days to complete the project. Not a big book at all. Right. 14 word pages. I don't think it was 5,000 words, but to date, that is my most successful project.
The length of things can never ever outweigh the quality of it.
Absolutely.
So,
absolutely,
you know, if you can get to the point and make your point, make it heard, it never has to be that long.
Absolutely.
Most people don't like to be long-winded. They want to get to the point.
Right.
So I applaud you on understanding, hey, I just need to get to the point. And, you know, of course, you know, I read the book. So,
absolutely.
You know, it was a good, it still is, it's still relevant now, but it's a good read, and it's good for just the community to know I can do that.
Exactly. You know, it's interesting about that. It began as an audiobook.
Yeah.
And,
you never heard the audiobook, have you?
I didn't know. I hadn't heard.
I've heard the audio. I think I still have it somewhere.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, I introduced each chapter with hip hop instrumentals.
Right.
It was short audiobook, 42 minutes. Like I said, it was 14 word pages. Introducing each chapter with hip hop instrumentals and selling them out the trunk of my car. That's what really pushed the envelope on sales with that book. You know, in 4 or 5 months, I sold over 6,000 copies out my trunk. So that was pretty cool. You know, of course, group purchases from churches, school systems, this, that, and the third. But at that particular moment, it was a letter to myself that I could listen to each and every day to keep me moving forward. Lo and behold, my friend who was having the issues at work, it really helped him out too. And it's crazy. I spoke to him about a year ago. He's doing very well.
That's good. That's good.
So that's pretty cool.
And that leads into something else. You know, that particular book started out as an audio book,
right?
But you had some adventures or some aspirations as far as a rapper as well.
Yeah, that was early on in life. You know, I was.
You did some work.
I did a lot of work. It was crazy. That was I wouldn't say a missed shot, you know, because from time to time I go in. But you know, I had a early start. You know, as a teenager, rapping, going to studios, this, that, and the third. Some pretty major studios here in Atlanta. That was really cool. And that never really took off, but it was something I loved. So the development of the audio book and my history with music,
Right.
that coincided and created something beautiful and impactful to the people I was trying to reach.
Right.
So that was pretty cool.
That's cool.
Well, I'm gonna go ahead and vouch for it. Your boy had some stuff out there that was fire. He did a joint, and look, it was the one joint that touched me to the point where I was doing music at the same time. Basically, I took his track
Right.
with him on it, brought it over to the camp, had to throw my verse on it.
Right.
To this day, we still have this song. You
Right.
know, that people should hear this song.
Right,
It was
right.
good. It was fire.
Right,
You know what I'm saying?
right,
So
right.
anyway, but yeah, I can vouch for it. The man had
You're
lyrics.
gonna have to play that when all this is over.
Yeah, we gonna have to play
Right.
that joint. Y'all got. I'm gonna let y'all listen. It's
Right.
fire. Y'all need to get down with that thing. Yo, and look, in this age, we still sell this joint.
Right.
Yo, we about to put this thing on iTunes. Y'all need to go get this, and maybe we can take it and donate the proceeds, some of it to charity or something. We do something good. With
Right.
it, you know what I mean? But I mean, it was fire. Your boy had definite skills. So,
Right.
But anyway, I ain't you know.
So, Jovan, tell us about this. Tell us about this. There was a point in your life. I just want to know what your mindset was.
We gonna talk about the walk.
We're gonna
get
Hey, can I say?
I've been wanting to talk about the wall. I really just wanted to get to the wall. I ain't want to talk about the rest of this stuff.
You stunt then. You stunt.
No, I didn't really want to talk about the rest of it. Look, I don't want to hear about that with Rodney. No, go ahead, man. Okay.
There was a point in your life where one day you decided to drop everything
Yeah.
and just head off into the sunset. Can you tell us about that day? What was going through your mind that day, from the point to where your thought process started thinking about that, or maybe there was some more history behind it,
Right.
to the point to whereas you stopped and you got out and you started walking.
So when I
Let them know what the walk was called first.
the moratorium on selfishness walk, it was to this date one of the most impactful things that's ever happened in my life. Leading up to the walk, what happened was, you know, when I began selling my book, my first book, you know, a lot of school systems, colleges, organizations asked me to come speak. So I was speaking to these people, thousands of people. It was really crazy. My book was doing well. Everything was great. But there came a point to whereas you got to push the envelope on what you're doing. So I'm watching these videos of Gandhi and Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, you know, all these great people, and that common thread was their messages were simplistic. Mm-hmm. Their actions were simplistic but had heavy impact. Mm-hmm. Because when things are simple, you know, it resonates with a lot of people. And the one thing that kind of like captured me about Gandhi was his walk. You know, he did this huge walk back in those times. Martin Luther King, of course, huge walks back in those times. So I said I want to walk to the White House. Of course, Barack Obama, he was inspiring millions of people at the time, and it was like, oh my God, we at the point in time where a black man can become the president. That hit me so hard. It was crazy. So I said, I want to walk to the White House, and I want to inspire people to help other people. That's how you know, make good things, great things. You know, don't just touch people. You touch people so they can touch people, and you know, the multiplicity in that is just amazing. You know, exponential value and causing people and pushing people to help someone else. So through the course of that walk from Fayetteville to the White House, I said I want everybody who's paying attention, who's seeing me on this plight, to help somebody in their own community. And that definitely happened. I filmed and, you know, put footage out on Facebook and YouTube throughout the course so people could actually, and did a lot of radio interviews and things of that nature, so people could actually see and respond to what I was doing. So that was a hugely successful walk. I lost over 70 pounds, so that was pretty cool.
Tell us about California and Skid Row.
Okay, so that was great. So, you know, after the walk, I really began really pushing myself to help a lot of homeless people. You and I, actually here in Atlanta, did a lot of that. You know, back home, Fayetteville, North Carolina, Whiteville, North Carolina. I mean, it was just crazy.
Tell me what the Atlanta project was called.
Really didn't have a name.
I named it on some of my posts. If you go back
Right,
to my posts,
right.
I called it Roseboro Feed the Homeless.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
that's what I thought that was the name of it. So
Right.
yeah,
It was bananas. We would just literally go and buy
Right.
sandwich meat and bread and waters,
Yep.
and literally go downtown Atlanta and feed people out of the trunk of
Yep.
Ronell's car. That was a beautiful thing, and then people started to help. And,
That's right.
you know, people out there in the internet world, you know, they began helping in their own communities, and that was just a beautiful, 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 beautiful thing.
There was a huge coat drive that you.
Huge coat drive, and actually, the gentleman who walked with me the last 50 miles of my walk, Robert Moore, he reached out to me.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, he reached out to me and said there was a young lady in Atlanta who wanted to go pass out blankets to the homeless, and I guess it was kind of cool during that time. So he wanted me to reach out to her, so I reached out to her, and she said she wanted to pass out some blankets, and she was thinking maybe 20, 30 blankets, which was real cool. And I said, well, I help, and I got a lot of people who probably help. Man, we ended up giving out over, oh my, how many?
It was, I mean,
Close to 200 some.
I collected coats at my job.
Yeah,
in
I mean, people were
we had
shipping
people
coats.
shipping coats, and bringing.
My
Your boy,
my cousin Dennis, he
came from North Carolina.
Yeah, he came from North Carolina. He had a company at that point. He bought a ton of new coats. We had people sending their old coats.
Right.
I mean, it was just a beautiful thing. So
I remember that day. We started running low on coats. I gave somebody the coat that I was wearing off my back.
yeah,
Yeah.
it was great. A lot of people showed up, and we actually fed that day. We fed, a couple hundred people that day.
Exactly.
Helicopters were flying over. It was bananas. But what happened? I was so enveloped in feeding the homeless, and it was crazy. I had a lot of attention at that particular moment, so I began this company with a child psychologist here, and we created a training module for at-risk youth. So, we were working on that and developing that company. That was real cool. But one of my cousins, Lorenzo's, one of his friends from Los Angeles reached out to me and wanted me to come out there and pitch the training module to some charter schools. And she was going to set everything up. That was all cool. But when I got there that particular night, we went to Rico Suave's house. He's a preacher.
Rico.
Yeah,
He's a preacher.
He's a preacher.
Oh,
Real good guy, and we had prayer meeting at his house. A small group of people, and I wanted to go see Skid Row, so there was a production company there with two guys with this production company, Mike Lozano and my man Chago. So I told him I wanted to see Skid Row, so we went out that night with my homeboy Walter, and we filmed us walking through Skid Row, and that just really fascinated me to see so many homeless people in Los Angeles. You don't think about it, it's downtown Los Angeles. And after that particular night, I said I want to film what these people go through. So things fell through with pitching the training module to the charter schools, and a couple of days after that, Mike told me he would film a documentary for it. So what ended up being what was supposed to be a 2-week stay in Los Angeles turned into a number of years. Actually spent 4 months on Skid Row, sleeping on cardboard boxes, doing that whole thing. Feeling their plight. Never released the documentary. One day I will. I got something nice planned, but that was really interesting to see people who've been homeless for 20, 30 plus years.
Yeah.
And to know those people actually exist. Not because they aren't intelligent. Some of the most intelligent people I've met are right there on Skid Row. Very successful, once successful people on Skid Row. Not because they mismanaged money or anything like that. Personal issues.
Circumstances.
Situations, circumstances, and conditions put them in a place where, for a lot of people, they wanted to have that piece of not being judged on Skid Row. So it's crazy.
Speaking of people and meeting people, you met a lot of interesting people, you know, in your travels, you know, and particularly there's one person, I don't even know if we probably can't talk about it. Name start with a P that you met one time. I don't know. You might have met a couple times. I don't know. I don't know. We don't have to talk about it.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine.
We can talk.
Petey?
There.
Oh yeah, we ain't gonna talk. But I met some very famous people with names start with a P. Very interesting people.
Very interesting.
We're gonna leave that alone.
Yeah, we're gonna leave that.
I didn't know if we could talk about it. You know?
Right.
We're gonna leave it alone.
That is funny.
But given your history and all the things you've done, all the people you've met, from Skid Row to the homeless to all these people with a lot of these plights. Now we kind of fast forward to this day and age.
Right.
Where are you this day and age? What are you doing now in terms of all these things? What are you a part of? What's new for you?
Okay, so it was a long time I was speaking and feeding the homeless and focused on right and things of that nature, and a lot of people don't realize it. It's tiring, physically, but more so emotionally. And everybody remembers. I did a lot of helping while people were actually helping me. I slept on a lot of people's couches. I actually stayed in your basement. But now. I've taken a break from trying to save the world because there's a better way to do it, a sustainable way that I'm reaching for. So I moved to Atlanta, finished another book project, and now I'm selling cars. And I do very well. I'm a Toyota Pro, so I'm in the top 10% of Toyota salespeople in the southeast region of the country.
That's a big deal.
That's a huge deal. A lot of work. So on top of that, of course, I'm working on a new novel that's set to release, mid 2019. This is you're gonna really like this. Please be on the lookout. And actually, delving in, we're thinking of delving in real estate. So in real estate state school currently, and helping a few friends on some projects outside of work. So selling cars, I do very well doing that. But everyone who knows me knows it's a part-time job for the moment. Right. So it's a pretty cool, pretty busy life right now.
Man.
Well,
as you can tell, I mean, Jovan has had a very, very, to say the least.
Colorful?
Yeah, I don't even know if that's the best word.
Intricate?
That too. I mean, there's so many words to describe it. That too. Right. You want another word? How many more you got? You got another one?
We could go on.
Throw me one more out there.
Complex.
Yeah.
Right.
So, I mean, all these things describe the life that
rewarding.
That too. Right. All the things.
Inspiring.
That too. That too. Having said all that, the reason why we bring people such as this here to tell their story is to basically not only inform but to inspire. If you can't get something out of this conversation and the things that he's been through, maybe you're not looking hard enough. Maybe you're not listening, you know. So, I mean, with what he said, and this is somebody you can readily connect with. He's out there. He's somebody that's accessible, just like we are. So that's why we do this. You know, we want you to see the accessibility to success, to things that can happen for you if you're ready to make it happen for yourself. So with that said, you know, we really appreciate you being here, telling your story, giving us information, you know, knowing you for quite some time. And the more, you know, the more I know you, the more we connect. It's always great information and great times to know that we're trying to be better as men. Absolutely. So really appreciate you.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you, Jovan. So, this is our final episode.
For season 2, not forever,
two.
just season 2.
For season 2, exactly. So, like we always like to say, we're going to go ahead and wrap this up. There is no excuse for good taste, because here at the Gentlemen of Style Show, we believe in better. Stay tuned for season 3. We'll be back at you.
Yeah.
All right.
We out here.
We're out of here.
Appreciate you.
Chosen to bring forth that hope and put it back together when niggas thought it was broken, but it's open wide enough for the whole fam to come through. Dough stacking in bundles, close tracks in the 1-2. Get your run shoes, run fast as you can. Here comes the Iron Man. Jump out the frying pan, smack dead in the fire. I ain't Iron Man. Shorty said rest your head and retire, but I'm the boss, babe. Lawless Inc. AW.